My name is Anna, and I'm 29 years old. I've been immersed in the tech world for as long as I can remember, and only recently did I achieve the dream I had been working towards for over a decade. I sold my tech startup for $20 million. It was the culmination of everything I'd sacrificed: endless hours of coding, sleepless nights, and the loneliness that comes with building something from the ground up. I had built the company from the bottom, and now I had this incredible fortune in my hands. The moment the deal was finalized, I felt a rush of emotions: relief, excitement, but most importantly, a sense of vindication. But as thrilling as the victory was, I wasn't ready to take it easy just yet. This was just the beginning for me. I had big plans that no one in my family would see coming. Let me give you a bit of background on my family. My mother, Grace, had always been a constant presence in my life. She was my biggest supporter growing up, but as I grew older, something shifted. She became possessive. The more successful I became, the more she seemed to cling to me, and that's when the relationship started to turn sour. My younger sister, Kate, on the other hand, was always the one who rode on my coattails, expecting me to pull her up at every opportunity. She never seemed to want to put in any work of her own. Instead, she was content to live off whatever I could offer. But things came to a head when I sold my startup. I wanted to make sure the money was secure, and after a conversation with my mother, I made the decision to keep $10 million in cash in her safe. It felt like a safe bet. Who else could I trust? I knew I was dealing with some questionable dynamics, but I never expected what happened next. After the sale, my life seemed to slow down for a bit. I was finally free to enjoy the rewards of my hard work. But in the background, something was brewing. My mother and Kate started acting differently. I would find Kate suddenly asking about my plans, my investments, my next steps. And my mom, who once supported my decisions without question, started dropping hints about taking a little bit of the money for herself. It didn't take long for me to realize what was going on. They were already planning how to get their hands on my fortune. And that's when I decided to make my move. I knew that if I just left the money in the safe without a plan, it would all be gone in the blink of an eye. I had to outsmart them before they even realized what I was doing. I didn't just leave $10 million in cash in the safe. I had a plan in place, and it was as devious as it was brilliant. I replaced every single bill with counterfeit money. The stacks of cash, each with a rubber band around it, looked exactly like the real thing. But every dollar bill was fake. Every single one. They had no idea what they were in for. The night before they took the money, I double-checked everything. I made sure the bills were perfectly arranged, and I felt a twisted sense of satisfaction as I locked the safe. My family had always underestimated me. They thought I was the quiet, smart one who would never put up a fight. But I wasn't just clever, I was strategic. That night, I slept like a baby. When I woke up the next morning, something was wrong. The house was quiet, too quiet. I thought it was strange, but I didn't think much of it at first. It wasn't until I walked into the living room that I realized what had happened. My mother and Kate were both gone. Not just for the day, but completely gone. I ran to the safe, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew the money would be gone. And when I opened the safe, there was nothing left but a few empty stacks of paper and the faint smell of perfume. I couldn't help but laugh. I had known it would happen, had expected it. I wasn't angry, just amused. They'd taken everything I had, thinking they were outsmarting me. Little did they know, they had stolen something worth absolutely nothing. I quickly checked my phone. They had left without leaving a trace: no notes, no phone calls, no goodbye. They had planned this carefully, running off with what they thought was a fortune. It was almost too perfect. I felt a sense of calm wash over me. I wasn't going to go after them right away. No, I had something better planned. Once they disappeared, I didn't sit idly by. I had a team of private investigators and tech specialists working for me. They traced my family's movements across the globe. I wasn't about to let them live the high life on my dime without consequences. The first stop? Paris. I knew my mother had always dreamed of living there. I imagined she would blow through the money on all the luxury boutiques and extravagant restaurants. I was right. The investigators quickly confirmed they had arrived in Paris, staying in a penthouse suite in one of the most prestigious areas of the city. I watched them from afar, knowing they were likely spending money they thought was real. Designer bags, expensive dinners, five-star hotels, everything was a part of their new luxury life. Meanwhile, I was savoring the irony. They were burning through a pile of counterfeit money, and there wasn't a single thing they could do to stop it. But I didn't stop there. I wasn't going to let them get too comfortable. So, I tracked their next move. A week later, I found out they had made their way to Dubai. I couldn't believe it. They were living it up, staying at a private villa, buying even more luxury goods. It was as if they were in a dream world. I followed them quietly from city to city, watching them squabble over designer watches and expensive jewelry, oblivious to the fact that they were digging their own graves with every purchase. It was almost too easy. Months passed, and they continued to live their lavish lifestyle, thinking they were untouchable. But I knew the day would come when they would realize the truth. And I was going to be there to witness it. Finally, I tracked them to their last destination, a secluded villa in the Swiss Alps. The location was perfect for them to hide out for a while, but I knew it was the final stop on their little adventure. I arrived a few days ahead of them and set up a meeting with a few people I trusted. This was going to be the final act of my revenge. When they arrived, they were on top of the world. They had spent months living like royalty, completely unaware that every penny they had was a worthless piece of paper. I let them get settled, letting them enjoy the luxury of the villa, the view, the fine dining. The more they indulged, the more I relished in the fact that they were going to crash down hard when they realized what had happened. Finally, the day came. I walked into the villa, my face calm, my heart steady. My mother and Kate were sitting at the dining table, sipping wine, discussing their next extravagant purchase. "You've had quite the run, haven't you?" I said, smiling as I walked in. Their faces froze, and I knew the moment of realization had arrived. "Anna," my mother's voice cracked. "How did you?" "I know everything," I said. "You thought you could steal from me, but you didn't even get real money. Every bill you took was counterfeit." Kate's eyes darted nervously. "What are you talking about?" I watched as the truth sank in. The color drained from their faces as they realized the money they had been flaunting wasn't worth a dime. They had stolen from me, and I had let them, because I had been smarter than them. They had fallen for the trap I set up without even realizing it. "You thought you could outrun me," I continued, my voice low. "But you underestimated me. This was never about the money. It was about showing you both that you couldn't outsmart me." I left them there, staring at each other in disbelief, unable to process what had just happened. I didn't need to say another word. My silence was enough. I left the villa that day with a feeling of satisfaction I had never experienced before. I had gotten my revenge, not in a destructive way, but in a way that made them truly understand what they had done. I didn't need to destroy them. I didn't need to ruin their lives. The real satisfaction came from knowing they would never forget the look on their faces when they realized they had stolen nothing but worthless paper. Sometimes, the best revenge is the one you don't have to say a word about. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply being smarter than your enemies. And as for my family? Well, they learned the hard way. I had been one step ahead of them all along. The end.